We want to start this. Good afternoon. Great to see you all, and what a great opportunity for us to take a few moments to hear from the voices of some of our students in Woodring College of Education as they graduate and move up and on and move forward and do all the amazing things that we know that they're going to do. My name is Francisco Rios, and I'm proud to serve as the Dean of the Woodring College of Education. And we have a great program for you, and we hope you'll just enjoy it, sit back and relax, and we'll have an opportunity to hear some great things. This is a celebration of amazing accomplishments, long journeys, hard work, lots of energy, and lots of effort. So for those of you who are in the room who are graduating tomorrow, will you please stand so we can give you a round of applause? We'll be joining about 180 of Woodring College of Education students tomorrow who will be walking across the stage and receiving their diploma. And we're so excited that you're here and so excited to celebrate with you this afternoon. I also want to just take a moment to honor and recognize all the parents and caregivers of those who are graduating. So if you're a parent or caregiver, can you please stand up so we can thank you. Grandparents, parents, brothers, sisters, relatives. And to our amazing faculty who do amazing work to prepare our students for not only careers, but also for citizenship. So will all of our faculty in the College of Education please stand and let us give you a round of applause. Okay, let's get on to the keynote speaker here. So when I was thinking about a keynote speaker, I will say that we started this event about 6 years ago, and really it was because I wanted to provide an opportunity beyond the student speaker who will hear tomorrow, not from the College of Education, but an opportunity to hear voices of our students from the College of Education. So we began this event 6 years ago, and each year we look for a distinguished member of our alumni. And this year I'm very proud to be able to have Megan Dawson here as the keynote. Megan is currently the principal at Culsham Middle School. Previously, she was the ELL director of Burlington Edison School District and principal at Westview Elementary School, which is a dual language school down in Burlington Edison. She earned her teaching credential here from Western and a master's degree in teaching, and then she earned her administrative certificate from the University of Denver. Most recently, I think even within less than a year, if I recall right, Megan earned her doctorate degree from the University of Washington. To me, she's really an example of our vision statement, which talks about honoring diversity and promoting social justice, and really demonstrating how you do that in amazing school settings and contexts. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Megan Dawson.
Thank you. So I have to be honest and say that when Dean Rios asked me to be a guest speaker, it's not like my favorite thing to be a guest speaker. And then when I see that the whole thing's going to be videotaped, yeah. So we'll see how this goes. Sometimes I think it's best just to say what you really don't like, and then it lessens my anxiety. So thank you. I'm currently the principal at Culsham Middle School. I'm an alumni of Western, a proud alumni and a lifetime alumni member. So when they asked me to speak here, they gave me this golden ticket piece of paper where you get a parking spot behind the hall. And I was so honored with the parking spot that I thought, well, I better say something really meaningful so that it's worth it, because that doesn't happen very often. So I thought about this hiring season that we're in. I'm in the midst of hiring a lot of teachers and classified staff, and it's full of angst, and people are coming and asking me lots of questions about interviews and different schools, and what do I think about this district, and how far away should I drive for my first teaching job. And so I thought I would talk for just a couple minutes about what are principals looking for, or some of you aren't looking in districts, you're looking at organizations and nonprofits. So what are people looking for in our region, and who are we hiring, and who are we hiring for? So one of the things I talk with people when I'm coaching them about interviewing is that we're not hiring you today, we're actually hiring you and your future self, because you're going to be hopefully in our district for 30 to 40 years. And so we're always thinking about, you might have 30 kids your first year, or if you're in middle school or high school, you might have 120, 150 kids your first year. But when you multiply that up over 30 to 40 years, you'll have contact with between 4,000 and 5,000 students, which is a lot of people's lives that you'll impact. And so when I'm interviewing people, I think about all those faces and all of those conversations that you're going to have with people, and how we have an amazing impact. Schools have an amazing impact on our communities and our region and our state and our nation. And I feel the responsibility of that when we're hiring. So a lot of what I try to get out in an interview is like, what is your story? What have you been through? How do you, when you're in your first year of teaching, or you're coming into a new staff, like how do you handle stress and trauma? And if we have new ideas, new learning, like how will you integrate that into your teaching? Because what I found is that if you can kind of see where people have been and what their story is, and you can kind of predict what their future will be, how teachers will handle difficult situations, or how they'll handle a student who comes to them and says, for 13 years I've been a girl, but really I'm transitioning and I don't know which locker room to use, and I haven't talked to my parents about this yet. I need to know, how is that person going to handle that student? What are they going to say to them? And how are we going to handle this as a community? Or a parent who comes and says, I've been living in a tent, with my boys for a year in Bellingham, and my kids haven't been in school, and now they're going to be in 6th and 8th grade in your school. How are we going to wrap our arms around that family, that mom and those 2 kids, and say, what do you need, and how can we help you, and tell us what you've been through, and how we can support you in what you need and what your kids need to be successful. I'm a subscriber to the Sun magazine, which is an amazing literary magazine. And last month, one of their quotes, which I thought was really fitting for schools, it says, "We expect our contributors to be honest about their failures, curious about their inner conflicts, and willing to consider other points of view." So I'm always thinking about, like, the teachers that I hire, how do they have those attributes? I'm not just looking for professional teachers, I'm looking for professional learners, people who are professional listeners, and people who really believe in kids. I want teachers who are going to listen to students and learn their story, and really care about them and truly love them. Like, we have people in interviews that you can tell that they have been teaching and they love students, and they form relationships with students, and they believe in students' capacity and their ability and their ancestry and their story, and those are people that I want to be around every single day, and those are people that students want to be around. So it's really inspiring and energizing to hire people, and to know that those are the people that you're bringing into your school. As Dr. Rio said, I was a principal in Burlington and then an ELL director, and so I'm always thinking about students that have come and gone, and like, how have I interacted with them, and how have I listened, and how have I let them know that I believe in them. Students like Najla and Amir and Mohammed and Marisol. I picture these faces when I'm interviewing, and I'm thinking, how will this person interact with those students? And how will they let those students know how valuable they are? I think about Sarai and Jesus and Montserrat and Jaquiz, I was lucky to be at Westview K-8 when the dual language program was at second grade, but then it moved up a year every year that I was a principal, so I got to be, designing and developing and hiring people. And I think I set a record in Burlington for hiring the most bilingual candidates. I think half of them were English speakers who had learned Spanish, and then the other half were native Spanish speakers. So I think at one point we were the only school that had any native Spanish speakers in the entire district. And they always wanted to move them over to other schools, and I was always like, no, I hired them, I'm keeping them, you're not moving them. And they were like, well, you're gonna have to share. I'm like, you go find your own. I think about students like Neftali and Giselle and Marcelino and Hasmin. We wrote a 21st century grant that provided after-school programs and summer school in Burlington, and we got to hire the first trilingual speaker of Spanish, English, and Mixteco, which is an indigenous language in Mexico, and also someone who spoke Spanish, English, and Trique. And then the director was, he spoke English and Japanese, and he had learned Spanish, so we had another trilingual speaker. And I think about students like Afifo and Mahari and Yabarak and Zadok, and how Western ran an alternative route teaching program here for people that were paraeducators and had experience in the classroom, and then took night classes and weekend classes so that they could become certificated teachers. And just how amazing every single one of those people in that cohort was. One of them was, I believe, the nation's first DACA student, Deferred Action Childhood Arrival, who then became hired by the Burlington Edison School District as a first or second grade teacher in the dual language program. So I think about all these practices that I've had a part of, and how it's changed really the landscape of our region. And how when we interview people, we're thinking about who you are today, and we're also trying to picture like every interaction that you're going to have with every student over the next 30 to 40 years. And how when we interview people, if we can hear through their voice and their tone and their body language of how they're going to interact with students, I'm just one person that's evaluating them, but all of those students out there are going to be having interactions with them every day. And so really, I want them to think of students as their boss. Like, that's who they're accountable to. Those are the people who come back and say to you, you were the best teacher I ever had. You were the hardest teacher I ever had because you believed in me, and you didn't let me slack off. You didn't say to me like, oh, your parents didn't go to college, so you're probably not going to go to college. We're hiring teachers who are saying, you're first in your generation to go to college, like, you can do it. I will help you get there. And so I encourage you to think about, in this season of transitions and jobs and next steps, to think about the students who are the most vulnerable, the most marginalized, the most historically oppressed, and learn about those specific students. Students who, might be living alone in an apartment because their parents commute to Spokane Monday through Friday to work, and the student still wants to go to school and finish the school year. I think about students who have recently been adopted from the foster care system, and we get to be the school that supports them in their adoptive home, and really ask them what their needs are as they leave behind this physically and sexually abusive home and come into a new family and a new school in a new city. I think about one of my students I had in Colorado that his senior year he lived in his car because his parents had kicked him out, but he still wanted to graduate, and he was really good friends with Jay Mead, and so he parked his car in Jay Mead's driveway and lived in his car every day so he could continue going to school. There's so many places in our community that if we don't have these connections and these experiences, you can volunteer and you can reach out and join organizations that get you in touch with these populations. So whether it's learning more about Lydia Place or Northwest Youth Services, Unified Soccer, going to a training with foster parents, working at Ray of Hope Summer Camp, learning about the grads program that's in Bellingham School District for parents who are high school parents and have kids. connecting with Muslim groups at Whatcom Community College, visiting migrant camps, learning more about our LGBTQ population, attending a Black Lives Matter meeting, learning Spanish by going to Querétaro or Morelia, Mexico. So, you know, I've had to reach out. You know, obviously I'm white and I'm English speaking, and my parents have been here for 4 generations. You know, I don't have a super diverse background, but I was the first in my family to go to college. I'm the only person in my family to earn a master's and a teaching certificate and a principal certificate and a doctorate. So I don't come from this really long line of teachers like some people do. They say to me when we're interviewing me, you know, it's great when they say like, oh, you know, I'm a teacher and so are like 18 people in my family. I'm like, that's great. But, you know, I had to build that pathway for myself. And I needed to reach out and I needed to network and I needed to learn about what schools need. Because when I was in school, it came really easy to me. And so it was sometimes hard for me to connect with students. I really had to put myself out there. So I'm going to end with a quote that I often say when I'm talking to people who are taking risks. It's in Spanish. So in Spanish, it's barco que no anda, no llega a puerta. And in English, it's a boat that never sets sail will never reach port. So I just want to congratulate you on this next adventure and think to yourself, like, how are you going to put yourself out there? We're creating a cohesive community, our students and you and me and our future students. And I hope that those students that I speak of today, that they'll see that you're professional believers and professional listeners and that they'll want to come to Western and Woodring and that they'll want to be teachers. Thank you very much.
Well, there's so much there in terms of really putting students front and center and really listening to their stories and then really reaching out in really powerful, important ways. Thank you, Minnie. That was really absolutely beautiful. I'm going to introduce a person who's not going to give a talk, but she is the college's presidential scholar. Is Sinayi here? Is she here, Sinayi? Oh, Sinayi, will you please just come up for a second? And she's like, not again. Come on up. Sinayi is our college's awardee for the Presidential Scholar. You'll see her tomorrow. She'll have a really beautiful medal on it. And we recommended her because of her heart, her resilience, and her determination. She's originally from Clover Park's high school in Lakewood. She was on the verge of dropping out, but she connected with students on the margins. And in so doing, she heard a calling, she found a purpose, and she took her first steps to fulfill a mission. She decided to pursue a degree in education because she saw the possibility of supporting, inspiring, and lifting others. She's the first in her family to go to college. She has become a pioneer, a trailblazer, a quiet leader for others who will follow. She's fully bilingual and already making a difference to those in her family. Sinayi is one of our Inspired for Teaching Excellence Award recipients, an award given to those who we identify early on for their potential to make a difference. Her faculty recommender wrote this. Sinayi is critically engaged and compassionate student, deeply committed to strengthening her capacity to serve children and youth in special education as an aspiring public school teacher. We've been profoundly impressed by her intellectual acuity and passion to serve others. What makes Sinayi stand out is her dedication to critically studying and studying the underlying conditions that result in marginalization and vulnerability, her ability to grapple with complex social theory, and her daily effort to sharpen her academic, conceptual, and practical skills toward justice. Sinayi served as a volunteer and just completed an internship at the Whatcom Discovery Center, which is a small referral-based school of 37 K-12 students that have significant emotional, social, and behavioral difficulties. She'll be graduating with you all and with a Bachelor of Arts degree in education and a major in exceptionality and disability, and she has earned a minor in the Education for Social Justice program. We are so proud of Sunagi. She's an exceptional person who will make an amazing contribution in her professional pursuits as well as in life. Please join me in congratulating Sunagi. Now, my favorite part of the presentation, even Megan said, can't the students go first? Is an opportunity to hear from 5 of our students from representing 5 of our different programs. So first, I'd like to invite Joanna Miley from representing our elementary education program.
Hi, thank you for having me speak today. When I was first asked to speak today, I started thinking about what I might want to say, and the first thing that came to my mind was how I don't think I could have gone through the program without the complete and emphatic support of my family, my husband and my children and my sister. I didn't expect that. I thought I might also talk about my professors, who are incredibly knowledgeable and dedicated, and I've appreciated them greatly. I thought I might talk about my peers in the program, my fellow students, who I was curious how I would relate to my fellow students and how they would relate to me. A lot of them are not much older than my own children, but they were welcoming, and I found them to be just incredibly intelligent and passionate, and I'm just hopeful for the future of education because of them. They're going to be great. So, but I decided not to talk about any of those things. I decided that I wanted to talk about what I think a lot of us are in this. The reason a lot of us are probably in this room is because we are passionate about teaching children. And when I think about that, I think about the first teacher I remember. I was 8 years old, and I showed up in public school for the first time after going to a school for open education, which that's what it's called, open education. And it wasn't child-led, it was complete child choice. And I chose to come to school, eat my lunch first thing, and play on the playground pretty much all day. I sometimes went to pottery class, and I sometimes went to wood shop, but I rarely went to math, and I never went to reading, because reading was pretty much impossible for me. So at 8 years old, I showed up at public school, and my birthday, it turns out, was the cutoff between 3rd and 4th grade. They looked at me and they said, 4th grade. So they put me in 4th grade, realized I could not read, put me in 3rd grade, and I started going to Mr. Johnson's room for reading. And Mr. Johnson was very tall and very soft-spoken and very kind. And what he told me was that I would learn to read. And I really wasn't sold on that. I had looked at books before, and it made no sense to me. The words kind of moved around. It did some funny things sometimes. And later I realized that is called dyslexia, but this was the 70s, and it wasn't something we really talked about too much. But over the course of the next weeks and months, I learned some tricks and some things that worked for me. Mr. Johnson and I played a lot of games, and I learned sort of how words work. And that year, I went from pretty much reading nothing at the beginning of 3rd grade to being in the highest reading group by the end of 3rd grade. And I am thankful every day to Mr. Johnson for teaching me to read. My love of reading, I've been a voracious reader ever since. I don't think I've ever not been reading a book in my entire life since that moment, since that time that I learned to read. I am also, through my reading, learned to love writing and became a novelist, and it's just an important part of my life. So I'm thankful every day to Mr. Johnston for teaching me to read, but I am more thankful, and what has taken me further in life is that Mr. Johnston really taught me to believe in myself. And that is the challenge that I set for myself, and I would set for every graduate who is going into teaching, that we teach children not only reading and writing and math, and to think about science and social studies, but to teach each and every child to believe in themselves. So congratulations to everybody, and thank you.
Wished you all would have a Mr. Johnson. That's right. Joining us from special education, please welcome Erin Gordon.
I'm also on the verge of tears too. Good afternoon. My name is Erin Gorman, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Special Education Department here in the Woodring College of Education. So I wanted to kickstart my speech with a quote. This quote by Annie Campbell reads this: "We can teach our children to flap their wings, but conditions have to be just right in order for them to fly." I feel as if this quote truly encompasses the field of special education. The special education candidates in this room have spent the past 2+ years basically in a very, very small, minute nutshell, learning how to see and look at the world in the eyes of a learner who's struggling academically, behaviorally, and socially. They've then used these new learning experiences to figure out a way in order to teach and support that learner who's struggling behaviorally, again, socially, and emotionally. So we've figured out and have been trained to teach students in the way that they learn, not just by the book. So for years, individuals with disabilities have been marginalized and segregated from their typically developing peers. Fortunately, because of programs like this, which I'm incredibly proud to be part of, programs like this, one here at Western Washington University, progress is being made towards a more inclusive, holistic, and equitable learning environment for each and every learner across the country. Candidates in this special education program, now specialists, are trained to specially design instruction for students who learn differently. We have learned how to gather information, to screen students broadly, and to generate hypotheses for why a student is making a specific error academically, socially, behaviorally. So we've been trained to be able to test and confirm these hypotheses with assessment tools and strategies, data collection, and then we've been trained to strategically develop solutions to these problems, if you will, conduct interventions, implement supports, and at the end of it, devise individualized education plans based on the individual needs of a student. The work that is done by specialists is truly admirable in my mind. It takes a great deal of patience, compassion, and drive, and resiliency. To sort of kind of sum things up, one of the things I've been thinking about lately in my field experience is this idea of delivering tough news. So that is a big role of the special educator. It's a very difficult thing to do, to deliver tough news to a family. This basically involves explaining to the guardians of a child that their child's academic or social or behavioral experience isn't going quite as planned. It isn't considered quote unquote normative. I'd like to take a quick moment to cordially thank those in this room that are involved and a part of the special education department. I see Dr. Coulter here, Dr. Hyatt. I know Ashlyn is out here somewhere. I saw her earlier. Thank you for being a part of this field. And I just wanted to share a quick word of thought, of wisdom. In regards to the delivery of tough news, I kind of experienced it. My husband and I did a few years ago. So approximately 5 years ago, my husband and I were delivered tough news with our son Jack, who's right over there. And we prepared ourselves for a road of interventions, setbacks, and unmet goals. Anyways, as a mother on the receiving end of being delivered tough news, it's incredibly challenging, So in that role of my life, I would like to thank all of those involved in this wonderful, admirable field. It is because of individuals like you, and I guess now myself, that students that are struggling academically, socially, behaviorally are given a chance. So you all have a lot of power now. We all have a lot of power now. And with great power comes great responsibility. So one of the things my dad told me growing up, when I was kind of going through a rocky time in my life, was that the ball is in your court, Erin. So, fellow specialists, I'd like to just share with you that the ball is now in your court. I would encourage you all, and I'll note this for myself, to use that power wisely. And I truly believe that together we can maybe, just maybe, collaboratively use that power to change the world. Thank you.
What a great way to think about creating conditions so that people can fly. Thank you, Erin. Representing secondary education, Chelsea Cottrell. Chelsea.
Hello, my name is Chelsea Cottrell. I know it's very hard to pronounce. Don't worry about it. I have to tell people how to pronounce it every day. So Megan Dawson mentioned that there are a lot of teacher candidates that come through programs or they're applying for jobs who have had 18 teachers in their family. And that was not my case. I ended up here a very different path than most, but I always knew that I wanted to be a teacher. And it was like the first student speaker. It was a teacher of mine who impacted my life. And I did my undergrad here 10 years ago. I graduated 10 years ago in June. And I spent 10 years in the classroom, assistant teaching, teaching abroad, but never really jumping in all the way because I had this anxiety about who am I to be an educator? Like, what do I have to offer these kids? And then life took me places, and I had kids of my own. I have 4.5-year-old twin boys who are at Western as well. And after they were born, I started realizing, who am I not to be an educator? I wanted to see teachers out there that were supportive and inclusive and treated children equitable. I also have children with special needs. And so I thrust myself into this program. It's an unfortunate truth that often we do for our children what we can't or won't do for ourselves. And that's how I ended up here. And this program has changed my life. I'm a single mom, and I did not think I could make it through this program. And I have to thank everybody in the secondary department for the support that you have all provided me. I see so many faces in this room that I wouldn't be standing here today if it weren't for your support. And that is one of the most important things that I learned in this program is from your modeling, how to love your whole student who walks in the classroom. Because students can't walk in the classroom and check their baggage at the door. And as an educator, I can't either, really, if I'm honest. But I can be real and tell them that I love them when they're real. And so that's one of the main things that I learned in this program. The second really important part of this program that changed my life was my involvement with service learning. And it's a really powerful component of the program here to be out in the community and I learned so much from my work with this program called Our Treehouse. It's a local grief organization that supports grieving kids and teens and their families. And if it were not for Treehouse as well and my Treehouse family, I also would not be standing here today. So I'm incredibly honored for the work that I was able to do with them, with family program night and teen night and crisis intervention when there's local deaths in the community, reaching out and supporting grieving students. And I was very honored to be supported by the faculty here in research, and I just completed my 691 paper on how to get all faculty and staff in the district and maybe eventually in the nation grief trained, because I really do think that teachers are the front lines of grief support. I think that we know our students best, and we're the ones that can be there to support them when they're suffering and grieving through a loss. So, yeah, it's been a crazy journey, and I'm so grateful for everybody here. I'm graduating tomorrow, still a single mama, with a 4.0. I don't know how that happened. Thank you. And my children are graduating from the preschool as well, which is very exciting. And I'm so excited and honored to be continuing my work in Bellingham with Our Treehouse as the French department at Squalicum High School. So the last thing I want to say is also something that Megan Dawson said about, I don't know, in the fall when I was visiting Colshan with one of my classes, middle school class, and she was talking about being yourself as an educator. And that really resonated with me. And because that's what I want my students to take away too when they walk in my classroom, is that you are a worthy human being and worthy of love as yourself. And I'm so honored to be a part of this district. I'm so honored to have been a part of this program. I can't thank you all enough for being who you are and for being. So thank you.
I'm practicing my French, I think, when I get to see her. So thank you, Chelsea. And from the Human Services Program, please join me in welcoming to the stage Sky Saxon. Sky.
I have so many little notes here. I think I'm going to start off. I have a peer that was here and he left, but I thought I'd share this little anecdote anyways. I had a really rough transition moving to Bellingham and starting here at Western, and I didn't know what to expect. And at the orientation for the Human Services Program, I kind of just sat to myself in the back. And this guy comes up and sits next to me about halfway through it and says, I noticed you were sitting by yourself, so I thought I'd sit with you. And I didn't realize it at the time, but that's really the kind of students we have in the Human Services Program. Everybody's just very kind, warm-hearted, always looking out for each other. And I didn't know what, like I said, I didn't know what to expect from the Human Services Program besides maybe getting a decent job. Maybe this would be the first stepping stone to going to grad school. And talking to my peers, we all witnessed injustices, but we didn't know how to speak up about them. We didn't even know how to say no and practice self-care going into this chapter of our lives. So when I applied to the Human Services Program, I thought I could be involved with the issues I cared about. And what happened was I actually grew more knowledgeable about systems of oppression and means of empowerment. And I was given the tools to become courageous. We all have learned how to be
agents of change. That's a word we get told a lot, is to be active, become agents of change. In a field that often feels stagnant. A lot of people that we interact with feel like it's just a job, and it's tough, and there's a lot of burnout. But the human services professors serve as mentors as well as educators. They really believed in us and believed in our abilities, and were there to answer any questions we had. We would often leave class feeling a little depressed because, we'd learn about sweatshops overseas and how, a lot of us just finish shopping over the weekend, and but we can leave the program knowing that we can do something about it, we can be active. We are actually very privileged to be in this position. I think that, I had so much to say when I came up here. I actually just wrote like keywords. I think I had all those words. But I just want to say thank you to the peers that I grew up with into this program, and the professors that helped me grow into myself and helped us grow our confidence and make us unafraid of taking on responsibilities and taking on roles outside of what's expected of us. I mean, I really can't, I never thought I'd make it here. I never thought I'd be able to speak on behalf of anybody. And I'm still just really amazed by what this program has done for us. And I'm glad I have the opportunity to say thank you to everybody.
We're so glad that all of those trepidations and things you were uncertain about were overcome and that you've been so successful. Congratulations, Sky. And finally, from the Early Childhood Education Program, please join me in welcoming to the stage Emma Miller.
Hello, everyone. My name is Emma Miller, and I'm a student in the Early Childhood Education Program and the Elementary Education Program. So we made it to graduation! Yay! Congratulations! We made it through countless hours of lessons planning, the EdTPA, our full-time internships. We made it through many late nights, some tears, many laughs, and probably a couple bottles of wine. At transitions in our lives, such as graduation, we tend to look back on the road that we have traveled. Through this program, we've learned a lot, from millions of acronyms, educational philosophies and theories, and countless teaching skills. But big picture, two things we learned stand out to me as the most important. Firstly, it really does take a village to raise a child. In my student teaching, I've seen a school where teachers go above and beyond to connect with each other and with their students. Every teacher thinks about what they can do for the children, and not only their own children, but the school's collective community. It's a community where people gladly share resources and lend a hand. This is the kind of environment that children need to be supported. In this environment, adults form the connected web so that no children can fall through the cracks. We should strive to create this environment in whatever schools we work in, by being open and honest with other teachers and in collaborating to do what is best for our students, because as we've learned, we really can't do our jobs alone. The second thing is that building relationships is absolutely everything. Kids will only listen to adults that they trust and they like. I've learned that we don't have to be perfect, actually that we can't be perfect, and we'll go crazy if we try to do everything that we could possibly do. But we do have to be there, and we have to be there emotionally for our students every day to show them love and empathy. Teaching is a profession that is uniquely rewarding in that you can see the growth of future generations every single day. But who cares about that? We all became teachers for the fame and the money, right? We have all worked very hard to get to this point, and I believe that Woodring has prepared us to be fabulous educators. Cheers to the future. Have a good night.
couple of words of wisdom, and I'm surprised it was only a couple of bottles of wine. Please join me in thanking all 5 of our student speakers. You represent the tagline of Western, which is active minds changing lives, and you can see that in each of them. And you just have to imagine 180 more of them. The people, as you'll see, who are walking across the stage tomorrow, all exemplify, I think, what we think we're about, which is working hard to honor that diversity and really promoting social justice. In closing, I'd like to share a quote that I shared for the past 6 years when I end this event, and it comes from a book called The Return to Love by Marianne Williamson, though it's often been attributed to Nelson Mandela because he used the same quote in his inauguration address in 1994. And the quote reads this: "Our deepest fear is that we are not inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of the universe. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightening about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure about you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of the heavens that is within us. And it's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. As we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. So to all the graduates, I urge you, go out and light up the world. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you. Please stick around and mingle. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Second ceremony, right? Have a great rest of your evening. Thank you.